Okay, welcome again to my presentation, ladies and gentlemen, dear lovely students and the followers of ADAU TV channel. On a traditional way, we continue to provide the presentations related to our lectures, as well as some actual issues related to our sphere, to economy, and to business and administration. Today, I'm here to provide a presentation for you. My name is Dr. Jafar Jafarov, and I'm an assistant Department of Finance and Economic Theory at Azerbaijan State Agriculture University. Let me introduce my topic for you today. Today we are going to talk about the actual issue which all the entire world are caring about, that are worried about that, and this actual issue are totally affected to all the economy and it destroyed the economic activities. So today we are going to conduct a presentation about the global economic outlook during the COVID-19 pandemic. Today I will talk about this COVID-19 pandemics in the world as well as to Azerbaijan. So let me first introduce you my presentation outline. So we will talk about the COVID-19 tragedy. Why this isn't a tragedy? Because, you know, it affects all the entire economic activities. That's because I call it a tragedy. Maybe, you know, some people cannot understand. There could be a misunderstanding about the why it's named with a tragedy, blah, 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 blah. And that's because I would like to give an explanation that this isn't a tragedy because it affected all the people, population, healthcare, education, medicine, as well as the economic activities. That's because I put in a title, The Tragedy. So I will talk about the negative impact of the COVID-19 virus, like pandemics. And then I will explain about that how the global stock markets, how the financial markets are affected by this coronavirus. And then later I will explain about the economic situation pre and after this coronavirus pandemics. Okay, so before starting this presentation, we know that currently people are over all the world affected by the coronavirus pandemics. This is called the COVID-19, which is the fifth, which is you see from the slides. This is the first one, the second one, and the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. This is the fifth pandemic after the 1918, the Spanish flu, called the influenza A virus, and as of now, we can trace the first report and the subsequent outbreak from a cluster of novel human pneumonia cases in China, you know, in the city of Wuhan, and which was since the December last year. And since COVID-19 virus pandemics initially emerged in China, as we talked about that, this virus has evolved for months and rapidly separated to overall the world and other countries worldwide as a global trade. So on March 2020, and the World Health Organization finally made the assessments that COVID-19 can be categorized as a pandemic following the, as you see, the 1918 years, the Spanish flu, and 1957, 1968, and 2009, and which in this pandemics that caused an estimate approximately 50 million, as you see, approximately 50 million deaths, and the Asian flu is approximately the 1.5 million deaths, and this Hong Kong flu approximately 1 million deaths, and this pandemic flu, influenza, approximately 300,000 deaths. And this is not the first pandemics in the world. You know, as you see, I would like to mention that please keep on concentrate with this information. Approximately 50 million deaths in the world was happened in 1918. So this is not the first pandemics, but you know, this 2019 pandemics, which we call the COVID-19, this happened, okay, we agree, but it's not still stopping. So it's going to be separated to other countries, getting a widespread. That's because we are getting a little bit worried about that one day it will be stopped or not. So, but I will give you the statistics about that 2019 for the for 2020 years, and in my next slides. As you can you see here, the coronavirus epidemics has become one of the main threats to the world economy, to the world global economy and financial markets as well as. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, the virus first appeared in China, in the city of Wuhan in December last year, and today it's going to be widespread to other countries, and it has that total cases more than the 29 million, as you can see here, and more than the 900,000 deaths, and in all the more than the 200 countries. This is not a joke. This is a real issue, and this is a real issue which is affecting to all the categories of sectors. So this is negative. This is negative sides of all the economic activities, and we should worry about that, and we should find the new solutions in order to get our initial progress. So I would like to give one explanation. This is just the comprehension details. COVID-19 deaths. This is not a low. This is not a low information. Imagine in Vietnam War. Maybe some of you guys, you remember Vietnam War. Total deaths was 58,000 deaths. But in 2020 COVID-19 pandemics, total deaths was up to 200,000 deaths. This is not a good information, but from this slide we can see that US deaths from the COVID-19 pandemics is going to be increased, and this is not just only in US, also in China, also in European countries, also in developed countries, as well as emerging countries. This is a real issue. So the coronavirus, as I mentioned, destroyed all the economic activities. So over the past few months, the United States passed two grim milestones, and in this battle against the COVID-19, and they are going to be to implement the number of infections has now surpassed 6 million, while the deaths from this pandemic is higher than the total number of Americans which are killed in our previous class, which are killed in Vietnam War. In my next slide, and I would like to talk about the negative impacts of the global economics. So we talked about that this is affected by the impact to financial markets, impact to international stock markets, global stock markets, as well as all the economic activities. There is no way to tell the exactly information about that this economic damage from the global COVID-19, but we can tell that this is a widespread damage. This is a widespread harms. And all the economists, we think that it made a severe negative impact on the global economy. So a raging pandemic unleashed by a highly contagious COVID-19 virus has triggered unrepresented restrictions not only by the movement of people, but also a range of economic activities and declaration of national emergency in most countries in Europe or in North America sites. So growing this demand for urgent healthcare and rising the deaths, and that tells us straining national healthcare system. So that the pandemic is disrupt global supply chains and international trade. So as I mentioned beforehand, this is not just the only damage to the economic activities, economic entities, economic size. This also destroyed the global supply chains and international trade, as well as healthcare system, because the developed countries, even they didn't expect that they would face such kind of a situation one day. So they couldn't ready to recover all these injuries. So that's because they try to rebuild, they try to build new hospitals, new medical healthcare centers, and medical treatment office, and etc., in order to recover these injuries. And that's because this pandemic disrupted totally all the spheres. So, as I mentioned in my previous slides, that this one of the negative impacts is the movement of people, and also it destroyed the tourism sites because all the borders are closed, as you know, and the tourists couldn't come and they couldn't move to other countries, and tourism sector totally destroyed. And the millions of workers are facing the black prospect of losing their jobs. And finally, it made the unemployment rates to the increasement, because all the factories, and not just only the in tourism sector, and all the factories, all the manufacturing process are stopped, and that made the black prospect of losing the millions of workers' jobs. So let's give a little bit estimation because we still in 2020 and we couldn't complete this year, and they just only want to give some estimations. And early estimates predicted that should the virus become a global pandemic, most major economies will lose at least 2% of the value of their gross domestic GDP, the global GDP, over the 2020. Leading economists or economic leaders, they are already reduced their 2020 forecast of global economic growth down from around 3% to 2.4%. So global GDP was estimated around that 86 trillion US dollars in 2019. That meaning that just a 0.4% drop in economic growth amounts to almost the 3.5 trillion US dollars in lost economic output. So, as I mentioned beforehand, this COVID-19 pandemics not only destroyed the healthcare system and economic activities, and also destroyed the global stock markets. Let's look again to the slides. The global stock markets have suffered from the dramatic falls due to the outbreak, and Dow Jones reported its largest ever single day fall of almost 3,000 points on March 2016 to 2020 years, and beating its previous record of 2,300 points that was set only 4 days earlier. As you can see, also the coronavirus impacts on the stock markets since the starting time. You see that this is the falling down, and it started from the January, and this is an information that sources got it from the Bloomberg 2020, and you see that the stock market indicators, they are they're falling down. As you can see, the drawdowns, the minus to 29%, and the Nikkei to 27%, and the FTSE minus the 33%. That all the indicators are falling down due to coronavirus pandemics, and all the financial transactions are stopping down, and all the shares, bonds, and the processes destroyed totally. So global stock markets, US saw that this situation will not go for a long time. That's because they implemented treatment methodology, and the global stock markets rise after the US coronavirus treatment approval, and this rolling leaf coverage of business, economics, and the financial markets. And let's see that what kind of treatment approval parameters the US implemented, and the stock markets gain after US regulator approved plasma treatment. And so Tesco makes the 16,000 jobs permanent, aimed online sales boom in order to decrease the unemployment rate, and the retail football recovery accelerates the springboard figures. And the Mike Ashley Fraser's group buys the Dow Jones sports assets for 37 million funds sterling. So COVID-19 trades will be a temporary or a permanent. Some economists thinking about that it will be a permanent or it will be a temporary. And how this COVID-19 impacted on economic sides as a globally, it impacted into three sides: the direct impact on production, and it mainly affected production sphere. Why? Because production, it's a kind of it's a heart of economy. Production, manufacturing process is a main tool of the economy of the world. That's because that this COVID-19 first impacted the productions. So second, it impacted the supply chain. All the things are destroyed, and retailers, input suppliers, and so delivery companies and logistics, and all these are destroyed, and also it affected to market disruption. So they made a disbalance of the market participants. So also COVID-19 infection destroyed the financial markets, and it influenced to the firms in a financial side. So all the finance and the import-export issues, all the countries, and income revenue expenditures sides of the individual companies, and etc. So this three important economic impact caused by COVID-19 pandemics in a global economy. So let's first see the direct impact on the production, how this direct impact influence to the production side. Production, as we know, has already been substantially affected by the shutdown in the global areas. Some other countries also, they started to feel a direct impact as their authorities put in place similar measures, like they stop the borders, they try to make the direct impaction in order to use some similar measures. This slowdown or lockdown in many countries has effects on exporters to other countries, and according to the World Bank statistics, even with the World Bank information, and even without new outbreaks of the disease, these areas will likely experience slow growth in the first half of 2020, and it still continues. And second parameter, that COVID-19 pandemics will destroy the supply chain, and it will make the market disruption. So a lot of manufacturing companies rely on importing international inputs from China. We know that this virus was started in China, in Wuhan, and so a lot of companies, they stopped to import all the inputs from China and other countries which is affected by this disease, COVID-19, and many companies also rely on sales in China to meet their financial goals. The slowdown in economic activity and transportation restrictions due to pandemics in an affected country will likely have any impact on production and profitability as well of a specific global companies, particularly in manufacturing sites and in the raw materials, which are the necessary inputs of the manufacturing. So lastly, I talked about that this COVID-19 also are affected to financial markets, and it affected the financial impact. It affected to the financial firms, the profitability, import-export issues, and also revenue expenditure sides. So temporary disruptions of inputs and production might stress some firms, particularly those with inadequate liquidity. And traders in financial markets may or maybe may not correctly anticipate or understand which firms might be vulnerable, and that resulting rise in risk might reveal that one or more key financial marketplace have been taken the investment positions that are unprofitable under the current conditions, further weakening trust in financial instruments and the markets. So a possible event would be a significant financial market disruption as participants become concerned about the counterpart risk. So I would like to mention that, we mentioned that these negative impacts destroyed all the global economy and destroyed all the economic negotiations. And I summarized all the information and made the 7 negative impacts of COVID-19 COVID-19 distortion. So the first one is adverse economic forecasts. So this is one impact of COVID-19. Second one is a decline in manufacturing activity, as I talked before. And so imagine that you are a company and you are importing the inputs from China, and so you see that there is more disease in China, and you stop your importing, and as well as it influences your manufacturing side, so your production level will be decreased. That's because the COVID-19 also influenced your company, and your manufacturing activity is going to be to decrease, and you decline in manufacturing activity. So decline in service sector, so all the restaurants, all the cafeterias, all the tourism, recreation centers, they are stopped, and service sector couldn't they couldn't perform whatever they want. So oil prices are falling down also. So one of the key elements of COVID-19 is the prices falling down in the oil sector. So the stock market house, as I mentioned before, that it destroyed the financial markets, and it destroyed the stock market, and it destroyed the global stock markets. So decrease in bond yields, and tourism is falling down. As you see, all the countries, they close their borders, and their tourism sectors are falling down, and approximate tourism sector falling down to the 0%. 0%. I would say this is totally all the countries. This happened in all the countries, because tourism is depending on with their country immigrants, like other people coming to the country. So, from the negative sides, I would like to go to the positive sides of coronavirus pandemics. This is not a positive side, but you know, I want to make a smile on our face in these days, but it seems impossible for a short time. We will get out. We will find a way out. But inshallah, in our next times. Maybe next year, maybe not end of this year, next year, and after 2 years, we will find the solutions, and all the global economic situation will be in progress, and the world population will come back to their normal life. But COVID-19, like coronavirus pandemics, also has a positive impacts in the environment, because it makes to decrease the solid waste, and so that helps also for salination. And also one of the positive impacts of coronavirus pandemics is atmospheric emission, because people are not using their many cars, and they don't give the carbon monoxide to the atmosphere, and finally the atmospheric emissions is decreasing. And the last one is the electricity and the full consumption. People don't use the automobiles before, because they afraid to go out, and using the car, don't use, and don't go to the restaurants, don't go to the recreation places. That finally they don't use much more time to drive, and finally that decrease that full using, and it makes the positive impacts of coronavirus on electricity and fuel consumption. So this phrase is really good for all the people, and I would like to introduce you. The relief will probably be momentary, and its cause is bad news, but the reduction of emissions and the fossil gas consumption can end up being really significant to the environment annual basis. This is a good phrases that I got it from internet, and I wanted to share with you. So economic situation was stabilizing before the COVID-19. As you see in 2019 years, and the world economy was in progress, and 2020 progression, you see it's going to go down in world, and let's see with the parameters of other countries, not countries, other territories. This is an information gathered from the Oecd economic outlook database, and I would like to present you the GDP growth with the 2019 and 2020 and after the 2020. And so world economy, as you see, it's gonna be the GDP growth approximately 3%, and you see that it's gonna be slowed down in 2020. And G20 countries, advanced countries, as you see that the shares, like this is a comparison 2019 and 2021, and the United States, you can see it influenced to US government also. The US economy is falling down in 2020, and Europe in Eurozone, and you can see also is falling down. Japan is also falling down, and this is an emerging country like a developing countries that also is falling down, and the China as well. So you see, you can see from the table, from the chart in here, that the more falling down it's in China, and this China is affected not affected. This China is also affected to other countries. So all these countries are importing from China. US also importing from China's products, and so European countries also got the products like manufacturing products from China, like emerging countries as well. So the China also affects to other countries as well. So why I made that 2020, this is a projection, and according to the economic thinkers, according to the economists, so in 2021, all the economic activities, all the economic, how can I say, all the economic situation will come back to the initial forms, and it will be stabilizing. So OECD interim economic outlook projections, as you can see here. So this is a real GDP growth, and you see that the growth, it was a 2.9% in 2020, and it's falling down in 2020, but it's you see it's increasing in 2021. So this is because of the fiscal policy will be implemented, fiscal and the monetary policy by all the countries. So like in Azerbaijan, how we can solve this issue? We can use the fiscal and the monetary policy, mainly the fiscal policy in this moment, and we can we can find out, we can find the way out. So world, you see that they use that the fiscal policy and all this difference in the percentage. These are based on the rounded figures. So Australia, you see, is also gonna be to increase. Canada increase. So France also increased, and let's see the United States. United States falling down 2020, as you see, 0.2% in 2020, and it will be forecasted to upgrade to increase in for the next year. So also G20 countries, and you see that this is in a previous year, and this is a 2020, and it's going to be forecasted to increase. So manufacturing, let's see that appears to have the bottoms out. So this is a global industrial production growth. This is in a quarterly and the year based on. And 2019, as you see that global industrial production is going to be to increase, and it started to decrease. So employment growth in the world, as we talked beforehand, that this COVID-19 pandemics also destroyed to economic activities, economic sphere, and this economic sphere also affected to the firms, and they made some they accepted some rules in order to decrease the production sphere, and if the production sphere is decreasing, and that means that there are lots of people, millions of people, they lose their jobs, and finally the unemployment rates is going to be to increase. And so the governments try to find out a solution, and in this case for the next year they try to implement some fiscal policy in the governments like in the world, and finally that will also affect to the increasement of employment. So let's see that the assessments of the economics, the effects of COVID-19. These economic channels will be containment measures, and containment measures, it means that how do they make the barriers, like they make the quarantine. They announce that the quarantine should be announced, and also travel bans and restrictions. So all the borders are closed, and so there are made some bans for immigrants, for tourists, and like Azerbaijan also closed before from the starting day of the pandemics in Azerbaijan, not pandemics, COVID-19 virus in coronavirus in Azerbaijan. So Azerbaijan government closed also borders and made the travel bans and restrictions, and also closure of public places, that you see that all the restaurants, cafeterias, they are closed, and all the outdoor activities are falling down. So economic channels also affected to supply sides, that all the factories are closed, and cut breaks in service provisions. So as I mentioned, my previous slides, that the service sector also decreased, and they made some cutbacks in service provision, and also that this disrupt the supply chain. So in demand sides, that the people lost confidence, and because they were expecting that it will continue the 1 month, 2 months, and even now it's 7 or 8 months from March, April, May, June, July, August, September, approximately 7 months, and the people are losing their confidence that which day will be all these pandemics will be solved. So the business and the tourism travels, that the people are requiring to make that tourism travels, and also in the business and education and entertainment service, because that all the schools, universities, and the educational institutions, they are getting closed, and the students, the pupils are getting far from the education sites, and also people are far from the entertainment places. So COVID-19 will have a larger economic impact than the SARS episode in 2003. Let's go back and see that China is more integrated. We know that China is more integrated in the global economy. You can see from this slides that this is the global GDP from comparable with 2002 and 2019, and the global trade 2002 and 2019, and global FDI and the global tourism sites. So China is more integrated in the global economy. So China is a major commodity importer. You see the aluminium, copper, nickel, zinc, lead, so natural rubber and the crude oil. So China is a major commodity importer, and that makes the global demand for selected commodities. So the drop, why I'm not talking about the China, because that was started from China. this coronavirus epidemics, and that's because I mainly focused on with the Chinese economy, and they explained how this virus infected to there. So the drop in Chinese travelers was hit hard, and travel service to China and Hong Kong, and you can see in here that from the 2018 and China accepted more travelers from over the world, and from Austria, from Singapore, from Iceland, Japan, and all these are people are like a travel service to China. They got it. Let's see the supply chain and vulnerable. So here is a value-added flows between China and the key partners. As you see that China in computer, electronics, and electrical equipment sectors, they are with the negotiating with Japan, Korea, and United States, European countries, and you can see the shares from this graphics. And also transport equipment sector, China is negotiating with European countries, and United States 20%, and 12% from Japan and Korea, and so. So how we can see that China's demand will have any important costs. You see that the full year impact on 2020, the world GDP. So this simulation, that means that the impact of percentage fall in domestic demand in China and Hong Kong, and 2% decline in 2020. As you see here, 2 and 10% is in global equity and the non-food commodity prices in the first of 2020, and 10 rise in investment risk premium in all countries in the. So all these shocks are assumed to fade away gradually by the early 2021. So costs are much higher if the epidemic spreads to Asia Pacific and the Northern Hemisphere. This simulation also show that the full year impact on 2020 world GDP in downside scenario. So let's see the global growth hitting all affected regions at downstairs scenario, and as you see that this is China and the other Pacific, Asia Pacific and European sides, North America. These are the domestic demands, and so the Pacific countries and advanced Northern Hemisphere, and in 2020, and plus declines of 20,000 in global equity and the non-food commodity prices in 2020. Like these shocks are assumed to decline gradually, and commodity exporters include this Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, Russia, South Africa, and non-OECD countries like oil-producing economies. So this is a loss of confidence of the government, and because this confidence can intensify the financial stress. And so in this slide also you can see that financial viability has increased, and the corporate credit defaults could decrease. And what the government should do, government must act now, because this is not this is not the normal issue. This is an actual issue, and all the governments should try to act. What the government should do, people, firms, and the macro policy.